in today's episode, heartbreak in Ramsey Street. A couple in Summer Bay is trying to reconcile but not, and I talk about Neighbours Home and Away for the first time on this channel. Yeah, I'm surprised at that too. See, everybody, that was my first intro of talking about Neighbours Home and Away. You guys proud of me? Are you guys proud of me? Not? No? Okay then. Hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video, and welcome to another episode, the second episode of BRAYTalks. If you guys haven't watched the first episode, please go watch it. I'm not going to spoil that for you guys. It was a very sensitive episode, courtesy to me. But yeah, so it's basically me just talking about non-sport related topics. Maybe at times featuring maybe video games, possibly, that I don't normally play on this channel. Again, it features my face, so there you go. So, but eventually that will happen. So yeah. So as you guys said, this is I've been wanting to do this for ages. As you guys know, I'm a big sports fan, obviously. Big sports guy. That's footy, rugby league, motorsport, you name it. Tennis, you name it. But another thing that I like is TV shows, and in particularly Australian soap dramas. Of course, we have two. We have two over here, which is obviously which some fans over in the UK and some in the US might know about, and that is Neighbours and Home and Away. So Neighbours, I've gotten, well, for starters, Neighbours I've really gotten into over the last, 6 months? No, not 6 months. Probably since November, or since mid-November. So about over 2 months, especially after when Home and Away finished. That's when it really started to ramp up. So yeah, and Home and Away, I've been watching it for years. I think pretty much since I was about 14, 15. But I really haven't watched it that much. It was only yesterday, as I'm recording this, that I actually did catch up on a bit of Home and Away, because I haven't watched as of late, because I've been all of this has been freaking Neighbours freaking related. So yeah, so in this episode, I'm gonna rehash what happened over the course of last week's episodes and today's, because I was gonna do it, but it was gonna do this over the weekend. But unfortunately, I was just too focused on relaxing, because last weekend here was freaking hot. 30 degrees on Saturday, 39 on Sunday. So yeah, so that's probably why it was. I was planning on doing a whole heap of content for the channel, but stupid me as usual, I get freaking distracted, which frustrates the crap out of me. But I did find time yesterday to catch up on Home and Away episodes, so I'll talk about that as well. But back on Neighbours, and also my thoughts on what will happen over the next few weeks, or shall I say over the next month, because as I'm filming this morning, the spoilers for Neighbours episodes for late February have come out, or aka episodes up until the 9,000th episode. So yeah, So I'll be revealing those, and also revealing some of my suspicions, because like I said, this mind here has a lot of theories in my mind, especially Neighbours as of late. But yeah, so yeah, and it's not just that. Also, home and away as well has been not a lot been happening in terms of home and away, but we'll talk about that eventually. I'll try and credit this all into one video. So yeah, I actually was considering to probably do this in 2 parts, but probably just try to do it all in one video. So let's get started here with this incredibly long intro. Also, just before I mention 2 things because I'm not going to be doing this every week. I'm going to be doing this at the end of every month because the AFL season now is drawing near. The cricket season's over. The AFL, the NRL seasons are drawing near. The motorsport season is going to be in full swing. Is now in full swing. The supercar season is in a couple of weeks away. So it's not possible for me to recap and preview Neighbours and home and away episodes. A week of home and away episodes every week. That's not I can't do that. So yeah. So I'm going to be doing this at the end of each month. And lastly, spoilers. There will be spoilers. If you haven't watched any home and away or Neighbours episodes, not from today, but from the whole of last week, I strongly recommend you click off this video right now, watch those episodes, then come back. So yeah, or don't, and watch the rest of this video and complain about it. So in the comments. So last week's episodes, there's only one topic and one topic only that we have to talk about, and that was the death of a beloved character on Neighbours, and his name was David. Yeah, this got me. It's absolutely got me. It was teased for weeks, and I think it lived up to the billing. So to rehash what happened, so it all stemmed back to obviously the dramas between. If you guys watched in the last few weeks, if you guys all know the drama between Veronica and Nicolette about this Sasha guy. So yeah. And also something to do with Nicolette's ex, Kiri. Yeah, but we don't want to rush into that. So obviously, unfortunately, David and Aaron got involved in it. Sort of got involved with it, or unfortunately got in harm's way with it, and now Veronica wanted to pay, not only make Nicolette pay, but also David and Aaron pay, because obviously they're along with Nicolette. So yeah, so they planned on going on a holiday just to escape all the drama from Erinsborough, and decided why not take another couple with them, which was a couple that just started up actually, and that is Leo and Krista. So yeah, and they agreed to it obviously because Krista saw that stuff with Paul. We all know how freaking difficult Paul Robinson to deal with. Yeah, and obviously Krista being pregnant, with the pregnancy and all that, and of course, as I said, David and her and Leo just started dating. So obviously we that's obvious really. That's that they do accept going with David, Aaron, and Nicolette on this holiday. So they got to the place, and so they got to the, so they got to the place. It was a goodbye. Of course, David, Aaron, and Nicolette said goodbye to little Lila, and at the same time, Leo farewell Abigail, because his daughter Abigail, obviously, which was which stayed. I was saying back a week or so earlier. I was a bit surprised that he didn't trust Krista with Abigail sooner. I thought, because obviously I know she has a thing with the drug addiction and that, but I thought that he would have trusted her sooner. I thought, but it was good to see that he now trusts her and that sort of stuff. But moving on. So they go off to, so they say farewell. Obviously, Isla and Abigail staying with James. Obviously, so the five of them all go off. They get to the place. It's a fantastic place. I'm trying to think of what was the place called where this was filmed. I'm trying to think. I found someone posted on social media about where the place is, and I can't remember where it was. I can't remember. It was somewhere in Melbourne. It's a wonderful place as well. This holiday house is great. 2 stories, has a pool, fantastic, and that sort of stuff. So the crew did a wonderful job in choosing this location for these scenes. And then suddenly, so back to the story. David, Aaron, Leo, and Krista wanted to go on a walk to more of a romantic walk, obviously, leaving Nicolette on her own, and she starts hearing noises. Little did she know that Veronica was actually there. Little did she know. Know that until it was too late. She did see Nicolette in the house, I believe. It scared. It was like, holy shit, yeah. And then but let's just say that wasn't the biggest shock I had on that Wednesday episode, because just as Krista and Leo were just getting, it was lovey-dovey, it all comfortable and that sort of stuff, just and all that. Boom. The bombshell dropped. Eden arrived. And I was like, whoa, shit. I was like, holy shit. And then sorted out, obviously, apparently I think he said that he was out on bail. I don't know who would pay him the money. I think there will be a lot of interest over the next few weeks is who paid his bail. Paid his bail. Somebody that we all know probably. And then this ties in all the second question. He says that he knows about Krista being pregnant. That's the second question. Who told him that Krista was pregnant? I get the feeling the same person that paid his bail told him as well. I must guess. So and then obviously he steps forward to Krista. Obviously Leo's there to defend her. Obviously, and then Eden grabs Krista, shoves her out of the way, and then basically goes, "Let's go, Leo. Let's get it on." Bang, and they get into a scuffle. Just as the scuffle starts, David and Aaron are going around there, and then when David sees his twin brother getting attacked by Eden, instinct is kicked in, and just basically tries to get him off, which was success. Unfortunately, right next to him was a cliff face, and they both tumbled off the cliff. And that was pretty much the freaking cliffhanger. We all thought for the next day, like, oh, who's dying, who's dead, who ends up dying from this. So then obviously everybody gets down to the bottom of the cliff. Both Eden and David are in a good way. It looks like Eden's is probably worse than David, and David's like, get into a hospital, and he's like, no, and then David's like, get into a hospital now, and so Leo and Leo and Leo and Aaron carried him to the car I think carried him to a car. I don't remember who it was, but then Krista was driving it and drives him straight to the hospital. Unfortunately, by this stage, when Leo and Aaron come back, David was lifeless. He was dead. And the sobs from both of them, it just gets me. I was like, I was there in shock, like, holy shit, he is actually dead. Like, I heard rumors for weeks about it on social media that possibly David would be the one that would die. But it's one of those situations where you know that person dies, that at the same, when you actually watch the episode itself, it still shocks you to the core. And I was like, oh jeez. Yeah, and then obviously they both had to carry his lifeless body back to the holiday house, which by the way, Nick and Veronica do talk it out, and basically they do decide that they sorted it out. And then Nick sees sees David's lifeless body, and she realizes straight away. It's like, oh, what happened? and yeah, it was just freaking emotional, really. There was nothing they can do, pretty much. So yeah, so taking him back to hospital, and then unfortunately Jane has to be the one that brings sad news to Toadie, Therese, Andrew, and Wendy. Had to tell them that there's been an incident and David's dead, and straight away Therese's thoughts were Paul. He's like, this could kill him. Like, no shit, it'll absolutely tear him apart. And little did everybody know that Paul was in another room with someone else, which I'll talk about later. So Therese goes on a wild goose chase looking for Paul, which happens to end up asking Holly where he is, and she tells her obviously room 505, obviously. About that I'll talk about that in a bit. And that between her, Haz and Mackenzie in a bit, about that later. And basically goes there, tells him, and he is and not surprisingly, he is absolutely devastated. Not surprising, really. Then yeah, and I was just still in shock by this point. I was like, holy shit, yeah. And there was a couple of sad moments there. This one was one of them, when Paul and Leo went into the room to see basically the dead son slash. And the one thing that got me was Paul saying, "Oh, my sweet darling boy." That one just got me. Oh, it just got me. Well, not tears and that, but it just got me like, oh, I was like, oh, far out. Yeah, that sort of thing. And yeah, I just like, yeah. And then the other one, very end of the episode, David's belongings, and David's belongings were there, so on and so forth. Turns on his phone. I love the fact his password is boo. I love that. And finds a voice recording. So it's like, oh, okay. So it's on that, and it's David. It's basically David recording his last words. And I love the fact that the editing here, where the montage of, everybody just, grieving, and which is fine. And the one thing, and when I was watching this live on the Thursday, I did, but I watched it back on the Saturday because they do encores over and over on early Saturday mornings on 10 Peach. I remember watching it, and I actually had a tear came out of my eye just watching that again, and because he didn't want to leave, he didn't want to, but he had no choice, really, and those were his last words. Yeah, it was just emotional, really, and it carried over to today's episode. Obviously, by this stage, everybody knows about it. Knows about it. The first day episode it looked like Haz, Mac, and Holly didn't even. They were oblivious to it. They must have been told this. Maybe by Byron, or maybe Haz and Mackenzie were told this by Byron, and then Holly was told this. Holly and Melanie were told this by Carl, probably. But everybody knew by this point. Yeah, Aaron's was a small town. News just spreads like wildfire, and yeah. And by stage, everyone was great. I love the scene when Mackenzie was there for Aaron, obviously, because I would presume that both David and Aaron were there for her when Hendrix died. I would presume they were both there when Hendrix died. So it only makes sense for her to be there for Aaron for the same thing. Well, not quite the same thing, but still, in a way. It was it was just it was emotional seeing that, and then the cute moment there when Haz obviously was my man Haz, obviously he basically said, oh, I don't know what to experience with you, yada. And then she's like, you can hold me, and he's like, yeah, and yeah, it was so cute. I know they're like 2 weeks into their relationship, but I'm loving their relationship, to be honest. I just love that. I get the feeling that Holly might regret her decision to break up with Haz. Just quietly. More on that in a bit. And then the episode ended in, I think, so basically, Krista went to see Eden, and Eden was all being all freaking arrogant, that sort of stuff, like, oh, it's David. little did he know that David actually died from it, which Christo actually told him, and he said, "Oh, you're not gonna see my baby born because you're gonna be rotting in jail," and then and basically walked out, and then Paul, and then for some reason, Krista was all just pissed off throughout this whole episode, which so she should, by the way, because her ex had basically been the reason for her sober companion's demise. So, bang, there she goes. She's gone full blind. And then she went. One stage she went full blown ballistic. Not full blown ballistic, but was a bit pissed off at Andrew, which she later apologized. Which she later on in that conversation apologized for, because and all that. Then for some reason, Paul was missing and was found to be with Eden, and he is so pissed off. And let's just say you don't want to mess with Paul Robinson when he's pissed off. Otherwise, you will regret it. And Eden's gonna learn that the hard way. And he's like, "Oh, shut up!" He's like, "Shut up! You know it's best you shut your mouth." Oh, I love that. Just Paul being such a badass. I know it's because of his grief, but I love that in Paul. And he might have something to do with this next bit, because Andrew sprints out to Leo and Krista and tells them that Eden's escaped. He's escaped, and they're all getting informed. And the next scene shows Melanie on her own at number 28, just minding her own business. Then, boom, Eden shows up, and he wanted Melanie's help. She didn't want to do that, and boom, pulls out a scalpel, and it now turns to a hostage situation, and she's clearly freaking out and scared. So yeah, and you can clearly tell by the sneak peeks for the next episode tomorrow. She gets more scared as the thing goes on. So yeah. And Tony tries to save it. So yeah. So now for the next few for the spoilers for the next few weeks, which to point out. So the first one I want to talk about is, we all know that Toadie tries and possibly succeeds in saving the day with saving Melanie from Eden at number 28. I was worried about for weeks that it said that Toadie saved Melanie, but it didn't say anything about Eden being caught, and I thought that there's a possibility that Eden might escape, maybe out of the backyard or something like that, and just bolts. And the police will spend like freaking ages trying to find him. But according to but I'm not gonna read all this article. But I read a paragraph from this article from Back to the Bay, which is my regular reliable source for all news, Home and Away and Neighbours. By the way, it says here, trying to find it. It says here, Toadie decides to go it alone despite Therese begging him not to, and that is basically going alone and basically saving Melanie. It says here, thankfully the siege is finally resolved and Eden is brought to justice once again. So I must presume Andrew catches him and arrests him, I must guess. But but it does say here, though I'm sure we're all wondering for how long. Is that some sort of trick in this article, or is this sort of sneak peek that maybe the possibility that maybe Eden is some sort of guy that knows a way how to break out of prison, because he's done it once, he's never going to do it again. So yeah. So I think for me, at least, I think this, and then obviously, it leads to, of course, Toadie and Melanie sleeping together on separate couches at number 28, and apparently tell they miss each other and yada yada yada, and that sort of stuff, and yeah, so yeah. So yeah, now the next thing I want to talk about, and then the next thing also I want to talk about as well quickly, is Chelsea, a new character that came in a few weeks ago that clearly has her eyes set on Paul. Unfortunately, as we all know, his son, unfortunately, in David, died, so he's grief-stricken, obviously, and clearly broken, obviously, and she is a bad egg for me. I feel like this is. She clearly first bit for, I'm here to see Cara, Remy, and the boys. Especially, it was absolutely funny how she gave advice to JJ about his thing with Sadie, which absolutely backfired in JJ's face, which was not surprising in a way. So yeah, so then, which was not surprising, by the way. As I said, Chelsea's bad news for me. She's bad news. Paul, I think, and for some reason, I think Paul knows. I think deep down, Paul knows it. But since she is interested in him, he just plays along with it, because David did warn him, and apparently Leo did the same thing later, and he's like, I know, I'm working on it. That's what he said. So he knows that Chelsea's up to no good. It's just that does he find out that it's too late or not? I don't know. But yeah. So yeah. Speaking of Hazard Mackenzie, I spoke about that earlier. So apparently, so it says here, I try and find it. Here it is. So it says here. So here's the point here. So basically, it says on this article, at the share house, does his best to keep Mackenzie's mind off David and Hendrix, but finds himself making mistakes at every turn. Yeah, there you go. He manages to make Mackenzie hash browns, which so happens to be Hendrix's trademark, obviously, suggesting a zombie movie, the exact type that brought Mac and Hendrix together in the first place, and then take her to Lasse's, which is apparently where Hendrix's ashes were scattered. So yeah, and then when Haz finally admits that he feels like he's intruding on something in private, Mackenzie assures him that she hasn't been reading his actions in that light at all. In fact, she's happy to share her Hendrix memories with somebody. Ah, that's cute. Yeah, but back on that for a second. Admitting this, what's the bet that Haz goes to Holly for advice. What's the bet that happens? It's either her or Byron he goes to for advice, I wonder. Or it might be someone completely different. I don't know. But my bet's on Holly, obviously. So yeah, because we all think that she's over him. So yeah. Which again, I'll speak about that in a minute. Speak about that in a bit. So yeah. Toadie and Therese working through their ex issues. Simple as this. Toadie and Melanie and Therese and Paul eventually are going to get back together. Eventually. Don't know when, but I think it will happen. because it just frustrates me about Toadie. What frustrates me about Toadie and Therese is every single time Toadie says, I'm in love with Therese. I'm in love with Therese. And then Therese the same thing. I'm in love with Toadie. I'm in love with Toadie. It just makes me go, oh, jeez. It just frustrates the crap out of me. And it just makes me wonder, eventually they're going to go back to their exes. It just, when the weeks just go by, it just makes it clearer and clearer and clearer that they're going to go back to their exes. As I said, don't know when, but that will happen. In my opinion, it will happen. Straight up, that's the end of that. Chelsea offers an olive branch, apparently, presumably to Cara and Remy. Do they accept it? Probably Cara 50-50, Remy no, because obviously, simply, Remy doesn't trust her. Which to be fair, I wouldn't trust her as far as I could throw her, to be honest, because all she's come to errands before is not for Cara, not for the boys. It's just to it's basically just gold dig, and Paul is that golden ticket, obviously. So the next one is quite interesting. It is something to do with this unexpected guest that stays at the share house. And I think we've all figured out who that person is. It's Krista. Because if I try and find it here, because it says, if I can try and it says here, if I try and find it here, just bear with me here on internet. There we go. Let me try and find it. Here we go. So it says here in this Back to the Bay article about the releasing of the early Feb episodes after David's death. It says here on Tuesday the 13th of February, or the 12th actually, the Monday actually, next Monday, is Krista finds refuge where she least expects. And then if I go into Digital Spy, which is another website for where if I can actually find it, here it is. It says, if I scroll down to it, says the share house offers refuge to an unlikely guest. Put two and two together, it's Krista. Put two and two together, it's Krista. Now, the big thing is, why would she go there? Because why would she go there, and who offers her the place to stay there? I presume it's either it's obvious it's either Has or Byron that offers at the place. It probably Has, because obviously things between. It was weird. It was weird how Krista offered Byron his job back, because obviously, Byron and Reese dated, who obviously Krista being Reese's sister, which is freaking strange, really, and obviously, Krista, and obviously, I would presume Mac would be one of those that resent her for what happened with David, probably. And I originally thought that maybe there's a possibility that Eden has escaped, that maybe she might be all scared that maybe he might come back. But now knowing that he does get caught and arrested after the whole hostage situation with Melanie, maybe there's another reason why. Or maybe she still gets paranoid that maybe he escapes from prison again and targets her again. So that's what I think for BYP. So as I said, with that storyline about the possibility that Krista takes refuge to a place which she doesn't expect, and the share house offers a place to stay for an unlikely guest, it's probably Krista that stays in the share house, probably. Big question: are we in for one of the most emotional funerals in the show's history? Probably, because a couple of days ago, the photos for David's funeral came out. Oh, and they were just so sad, dude. There was a lot of people that turned up there. I mean, I'm not going to count them all because otherwise I'll forget them. I'll forget someone probably. But all who's who basically on Ramsey Street and Red Erinsborough are there pretty much, including Chelsea in the background of it pretty much, which is her stupid way of trying to stay in Paul's orbit, probably. But yeah, the one photo that gets me is the one where Aaron is the one of Aaron, Nicolette, and Isla. It just gets me every single time. It's like, just reminds me of like saying, oh my god, Aaron's just lost the love of his life. Isla's lost a father, and Nicolette's lost a very dear, a very close and dear friend, who basically gave him and Aaron a child in the first place. Just basically, yeah, just shocked me in a way, really, pretty much, as well. Who flaunts Chelsea's plans and does this stop her? I presume this might be Therese, because all she wants to do is freaking gold dig. That's what she wants to do. And there's a photo there basically of her trawling through files, I would presume of Paul, probably. So she's up to no good, definitely, on that front. And obviously, she's probably stop. Does this interruption from Trey stop her? Obvious answer: no. She's still gonna do it, pretty much, and still gonna work. It's still gonna worm and slime her way into Paul's life, until Paul finds out what her true motives are and basically. Boom. So yeah. So yeah. What's the shocking confession that shocks Ramsay Street? That's the big question. What is that? I've got a theory on this. I think it has something to do with Paul, and I get the feeling, and I get this feeling that this, and apparently it said that Paul and Sadie carry a secret. I wonder if that secret is that Paul is the reason that Aiden is the reason why Aiden had been out on bail in the first place. Then, in the first place, so that happens that he's the reason why David's dead. Because if it wasn't for him bailing Aiden out, then David would still be alive. And let's just if that comes out, and if that's true, and if it does come out, oh boy, he's gonna be an absolutely hated man around Ramsay Street. Let's put it that way. Don't know about Sadie. I think everyone will be sympathetic. It will be sympathetic about Sadie because obviously she was pulled into this. So yeah, that's what I think pretty much. And lastly, the big question: what is Melanie's huge confession? I got a feeling it has something to do with Toadie. I think, simple, she has feelings for him. She still has feelings for him. Simple as that. End of story. Move on. That's what I think. But I won't be surprised if as well. And I wonder if maybe this hostage situation might be the catalyst for the potential romantic reunion for Toadie and Melanie. I wonder if this is going to be the catalyst for that. I don't know. Probably. Well, most likely it probably will. But yeah. So as I said, I think her confession will be not to Toadie, probably herself, but maybe to someone like Carl, maybe, that she has feelings for Toadie. Let's put it that way. So yeah. On to other storylines here. We've already gone past 45 minutes, so it might go another 20 minutes and go over an hour on this to talk about this. So late Feb episodes that have just been released. So I was going to go through the whole article, but I think I've run out of time on this, to be honest, because it's already 10 o'clock and I need to get home to work. So I might do 2 parts of this episode, to be honest. So let me fly straight through here. So I'll do some of the spoilers. Read out some of the spoilers here. As I said at the start, spoilers alert. Spoiler alert, pretty much. It all contains spoilers. So yeah. So here we go. So Monday, 19th of February. Toadie fights to keep his emotions in check. An angry resident reaches breaking point. And is there anything else? No, nothing else from that. Tuesday, 20th of February. Shared grief continues to push the residents of Ramsay Street to their limits. JJ's heroics catches up with him. Yeah. Members of the share house come up with a selfless plan. So there you go. Wednesday, the 21st of February. Nicolette's grief comes to a head. Chelsea makes a power play, I presume, for Paul. Toadie tries to take control of the narrative. Very interesting. Very, very interesting on that front, to be honest. And he has a photo basically of Therese, of a stare down between Therese and Melanie. Oh, it's gonna be intense, that probably. Thursday, 22nd of February. Therese is left reeling after a shock revelation. I wonder what that would be about. Paul is desperate to bring his family back together. Andrew harbours a secret from Wendy. I wonder what that secret might be. I hope he's learning his lesson from all the freaking Philippa stuff, that Philippa's diary stuff that happened a few months ago. Hopefully he does that. Monday, so on to the next week afterwards. Monday, the 26th of February, Sadie makes a surprise confession. I wonder if that's a surprise confession. Ooh, that's interesting. Toadie struggles to redeem himself, I'll presume with Therese. Andrew has a big decision to make. I wonder if it's something to do with work, probably. I wonder if it's something to do with work. Who knows? Tuesday, 27th of February. Andrew goes out on a limb. I would presume something to do with Wendy, probably. Sadie has her eyes on someone. And look at the photos here. There's a lot of her with Byron. Watch this space. That's all I can say, probably. JJ finds himself in trouble. I would presume at school. I must presume with someone who's up to no good. Wednesday, the 28th of February. JJ makes a poor decision. The education department throws a spanner in the works. Nicolette struggles with her resentment. Yeah, I must presume with Paul or Krista. Definitely, probably not with Krista, maybe, I don't know. No idea, but yeah. Here we go. Thursday the 20th, and lastly the Thursday 29th of February, episode 8999. Because the first episode of the month of March ends up being the 9,000th episode, which I would presume that episode will be a hell of a lot of reminiscing from a lot of characters that have been there from the very start, especially from Paul Robinson, pretty much. The walls closing on an anxious JJ. Chelsea attempts to control the narrative, I would presume, with Chelsea's interest in Paul. And tensions simmer at number 24. So I must presume that tensions are boiling over between Aaron, Nicolette, maybe Jane as well. Everyone's grief over David's death probably is getting over everyone's nerves. So yeah. Should I get in the story? Yeah, I might get this very quickly. I'm going to change my plans here very late here. I am going to, make Home and Away as a separate episode. I might call this to episode 2.1 and then the other 2.2, maybe. But yeah, and that has something to do with a certain storyline that got me interested over the course of November and December, especially over the course of December with Christmas time and that. And it was the love triangle between Haz, Mackenzie, and Holly. Now you might be thinking, Brayden, it's over. The storyline's over. Holly broke up with Haz. Haz has gone to Mackenzie. It's over. Is it really over? Or is it, or in my case, is it on the back burner for now? Because there are some evidence there. Now, the first one was a couple of weeks ago when Haz and Mac first got together. Byron was like, "Oh, you should probably tell Holly this," and I've got to be honest with you, is throughout that week, I was like, how's Holly going to react to this? Once I found out that Haz and Holly do end up together, Haz and Max, sorry, I should say, do end up together. I was like, how's Holly gonna react to this? How's she gonna react? And I thought to myself, it's only gonna be three ways. Either one, she's gonna be totally happy with it, and is true to her word. Basically, yeah, she's happy with it. Two, she reacts badly to it, not to actual them being a couple, but the fact that that maybe thinks that maybe that Haz should have told her and not Mac, and then when the next time both of them see each other, it leads to a heated argument between Haz and Holly, and basically Holly saying, you should have told me, not Mac. And it's like, well, it was a spur of the moment thing, yada yada. And then suddenly the CI words come out of Holly's mouth. Commitment issues. And maybe by this point, maybe Haz gets pissed off about it and maybe says, listen here, you broke up with me, I've moved on, you do the same. That was the second scenario I had in my head. Or the third one, which is probably the obvious one, which more likely, would be she acts like it's all fine to everybody, like even to Carl and all that, say that she's fine about them being together, but deep down, she's not. And the way she reacted, I was like, I was leaning more 60-40 on, I don't think, on that was more or less, number 3. I was like, her reaction's dodgy. Like, yeah. And I've got to be honest with you, when I didn't watch the whole full episode. I watched it all on template that day when the episode came out, because I was at work, obviously, on my way home from work, and that's how I couldn't watch the whole episode. And got to be honest with you, I said to myself in a smart ass type of way when I think Max said, Holly must be hurt by the breakup. I reacted smart-assly and said, why is she hurting? She broke up with him. And so I was like, no, I think it said, she broke up with him. Why is she hurting? and then over that weekend, that got in my head. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have had that thought. Because yeah, because I'm the guy who basically hasn't dated a girl in his life up until this point. So why am I to say, she's hurt, she's hurt because of this, he's hurt because of this, and this and that. Yeah, I have no say in it. So I was like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But yeah, yeah. And then it came to the Thursday episode where they hanged out at, and I know they're friends, I know that. But obviously when Therese was trying to find Paul after she found out that David died. To be honest, I didn't like it. And here's my reason why. Apparently, I think she said this to Mac when she first told Holly that her and Haz were actually together. So they needed time to move on. And here she is, 2 weeks later, in terms of episodes wise, 2 weeks later, she's hanging out with both of them. At all places, at the waterhole. Like, that's not moving on. Isn't the concept of moving on being away from that person as much as possible? Am I wrong? Am I wrong in saying that, or is the term moving on different in 2024? Nowadays, I just didn't get that at all. And yeah, so yeah, or maybe she already has moved on. I don't know, but yeah, but yeah, but there's another another. I want to reveal to you another reason in why I think this storyline's not over just yet. And it was in this article by Radio Times, back in the days when we were, coming all the fireworks, just celebrating 2023, looking forward to 2024 with New Year's Eve and that. Just as that happened, Radio Times released a article with an exclusive interview with exclusive producer Jason Herbison and his team. That organised the storylines and that for Neighbours. And one of which captured my eye, and I've got it here. It says, has a dark secret, which caught my eye. And the last 3 words of this whole part of this article, was like had my eyes like spring out my head like they're on springs. That was how shocked I was. Like, holy shit! And I'll read you all this here. So it says here. Actually, no. I'll read you the last sentence here. Has is attracted to Mackenzie, as you all know. They're obviously together now. But we will discover there are reasons preventing him from getting too involved with her or any woman. That surprised me. And I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. So there is the I was thinking about this, been thinking about this for weeks now, and I've finally gone to the conclusion. I think there's two possible meanings to this or other woman thing. One's probably maybe slightly out of left field, but it would make sense considering probably it makes sense if it delves into his backstory and that. And the second one's pretty obvious. And I think we all know that. Yeah, so the first one is maybe it connects to this backstory. Maybe it's some sort of chick that he used to date before in his past when he used to date, and now she's back at Erinsborough, and wants him back. I don't know. Maybe, but if that character was to be cast, it would have been announced by now. Maybe it would get that cast. That announcement of that cast for that sort of character would be revealed over the next few months anyway. So I get that. The second woman, the pretty obvious one. Let's get out of the way. It's Holly. It's obvious. It's obvious. It's Holly. Like, out of any woman, if you take Mackenzie out of it, who's the only woman that knows has Inside Out? It's Holly. Who else? Connect the dots. Just yeah. So that's why I think that this storyline might be. As I said, I might be reading nothing, and it will come out and basically it be something that's nothing like the two potential things that suitors I've just said. Maybe it might be Holly. Maybe it might be this chick that's from Hazard's past and wants it. Maybe wants him back. Possibly. All stuff is on the table. But or it might be someone else. I don't know. We still don't know. But yeah, it's probably going to be interesting, really. And I was going to say that and as I said, with this love triangle storyline, it doesn't mean, even though that Holly broke up with Haz and it has gone to Mackenzie, it doesn't mean it's over. There might be potential for that storyline to eventually come back. Maybe, I don't know, later in the year, possibly. I don't know. But yeah. And then I was gonna say this, but then also heard the news, obviously, that Eden does get arrested following the hostage situation of Mel. So yeah. So I was gonna do this, but yeah, I was saying to myself, Eden went after Krista, which ended David's death. He's obviously already gone after Melanie for money. I said to myself, what's the bet that if it's true that he does escape the cops following this hostage situation, what's the bet that his next target would be either Haz or Holly? Because if you think about it here, those two are the reason for him being in jail. Those are the reasons. But I don't think that's gonna happen. But then again, even though I was eagerly awaiting the Feb episodes to see if Eden does potentially but yeah, but I don't think, but yeah, so I can safe to say I can wipe this out, because obviously obviously it's not going to be, obviously that's not going to be great at all, as well, but yeah. And also, one last thing, also back to the whole love triangle storyline type of thing. It was revealed while I was on my holiday over in Geelong. Something interesting caught my attention on my Instagram feed. It was this post that basically it was in Melbourne. This was during November. It was during the month of November, and it was apparently a filming of a car chase and a car accident, and the cast members who were involved in this were Alan Fletcher and Georgie Stone, who, as you guys all know, play as Carl and Mackenzie. When I saw that, I thought, hang on, that's strange. So all these scenarios keep boiling up in my head. Maybe as it gets closer to this particular thing probably happening, and my guess is probably this scene might get aired in April, because usually I think it's 5 months it's 5 months from episodes being filmed to going on air on television. I think it was a bit less than that in the old Neighbours before it got canned. I think this with the reboot, I believe it's longer now. I think the old Neighbours, I think it was 3 months. This one's now 5 months. Because I remember they filmed, started filming for the reboot. I think it was in April or May, and then it came out in and it came out in September. So yeah. sorry for the tremendously long episode. I was gonna think about, as I said at the start of the video, I was gonna talk about Home and Away, but I don't think it's a good idea because it's already an hour long now, and it's just about 10:15, and I need to have a shower and go to sleep to go to work tomorrow. So yeah, so I better wrap up this video now, otherwise I'll get into freaking trouble, be in big trouble. So like this video. Please, it would mean the world to me if this works. Share to anybody who's a Neighbours fan. Any Neighbours fan, please share this around. Comment down below what were your thoughts on the episodes of this last week. Of Neighbours, you know, if you're a Neighbours fan, tell us your thoughts about that, and what were your thoughts on what my opinions are about certain matters, and do you agree with what I said about the love triangle maybe not being over? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And lastly, somewhere down there, click on the big red button which is labeled subscribe. But until next time, guys, I'll see you guys later.